Hi guys, this is Jesse from Nova Quark. Welcome to this tutorial inside Dual Universe Alpha. I am today with NQ Wizard just in front of me, and we're going to spend a bit of time to demonstrate some of the possibilities that you have in a game to create puzzle games within Dual Universe. This is part of the currently running puzzle game contest, and we thought that this could actually be helpful for you guys to know what is possible. So this first contraption here is really one of the simplest things you can do to create a trap. So this is a simple setup. It's not really co-op. We wouldn't actually need NQ Wizard for this demo, but it's just a simple example to remind you of what is possible, how it works. So here you have a laser detector and a laser emitter, and they are crossing over this force field that acts as a bridge. And the thing is that this guy is connected to the force field, which I can show by entering into build mode and showing the links, pressing 6 in my particular setup. So you can see that the detector is connected to the force field. So when I'm gonna cut the light, or actually let's NQ Wizard can actually do it. If you go through the laser light, it's gonna basically shut down the force field and it will fall. So this is a very simple example of a basic contraption that you can build in the game. Of course, you could refine that with different ways. I mean, we could use here an invisible ray. This is actually called an infrared laser emitter and receptor, so that obviously people don't notice that there is a ray in the passage. We could use also a delay, so that this is going to be working even if you run. So this is not the case here. It's just a very simple implementation, just to get things started. Okay, so this is a slightly more complicated example where for the first time here we have a situation where it's a co-op puzzle. So you need somebody, we're going to need NQ Wizard to actually help us solve this puzzle. The puzzle is that there are two pressure plates on the ground here, and if I just step on one of the plates, nothing happens, the door is not opening. You could just try to walk on this guy, nothing happens. And the door will open only when NQ Wizard and myself are going to step on it. So let's do this now. So I step on the first plate, NQ Wizard steps on the other, and that's fine. Now I can actually move through the door, and we both good. So this is a typical co-op puzzle, and I'm gonna now show you how it works and the principle, how to make it work. So this is actually called a double lock. The way it works, to make it understandable, I'm going to go to build mode, and so you can see the different links. You see that the two pressure plates are connected to one element here, which is an AND operator. So an AND operator is simply a box that is going to send a signal, you see on the right here, only when both sides are activated. So think of it of something that sums up the input, and if it goes, if both inputs are activated, then it actually is going to send something in its output. And it's going into this little box here. If I go closer, you can see it's called a counter 2x. That means that there are two exits. And this is a counter. So there's actually one entry here and two exits. One here that you can see going to the door. There's another one that we didn't use, but we could actually use it. Let's do this. For example, I could display add a light here. Let's put a small light like that, and I'm going to connect it to the second output. So basically, this is a counter that will send a signal either in the first or the second input, and you can change that by sending a signal in the input. So it's just going to switch basically between 1 and 2, which is going to open the door when both pressure plates are activated. This is going to send a signal here and switch from the light to the door. And this is how it's going to be maintained, because even though afterwards we just walk out of the pressure plates, this is going to stay like that, and the door is going to keep kept open. So it's like a sort of a memory that you can trigger by sending an input. So that's how it works. This is how this very simple puzzle game works. Let's actually illustrate that. If NQ Wizard just steps on the plates, now we're gonna close the door, and the light switches on because it's the second exit that is now activated. If we both step out and back in, and the door is open. So this is a very simple example of double lock. and how you can implement it with the elements available in games. Okay, and this is another much more complicated puzzle that you can do. In this example, what we want to do is that you get two doors here. I want to actually go through this door, but the button to open the door is not next to me. It's on the other side. It's actually here. This button is opening the door here. And what we both want to do is actually go through these doors and exit this place. So I will push this button, and that is opening the door. Fine. So I just walk back. Oh, it's closing. The reason why it's closing is because there's a detector that I illustrate. I make it visible here. And so as soon as I will go through this area, there will be a signal that actually tells the door to close itself. So there's no way I can actually just simply open the door and run fast enough to actually go through it. So the thing is, I need our friend NQ Wizard that is going to be able to push the button, if you can do that. And once this is done, I will be able to go through the door, and on the other side I have a button to press to open the way for NQ Wizard to join me. So this is another example of double lock. It's a little bit more complicated to implement, so I'm going to try to illustrate, explain how it works, and so that's one more advanced version of what you can do in terms of puzzle game contraptions. Okay, so to better understand how it works, let's actually start the build mode and display all the links. So that's going to be helpful. So the way it works, first of all, when you press this button here, is that you send a signal to this OR operator. Remember we had an AND operator before, so this is the OR. It means that anything that comes from right or left is going to be transmitted. Think of it as like you're joining those two cables and they go through, or they go actually on the other side. So it's just a joining operator or something like that. So no matter what, if it comes from the right or the left, it's going to be working. So if I press the button, it goes through and it's transmitted somehow to this other side. So let's have a look and see what it does. It goes to this piece, which is a counter. If you remember, it's this 2x counter that is basically a flip. That's going to be either on the left or the right. There's nothing on the right, but we could put a light here again to just show when something is going out through the other exit. But anyway, what matters here is that we're interested in what happens in the first exit, and that actually is going here. And this is almost like the opposite of the OR operator. It is a relay. So a relay is basically relaying whatever comes in through all the exits. It has several exits. We're just using two of them here. But again, think of it as just a connection, as if the cables were just splitting or something like that. So when you get a signal coming from here, it activates the switch, the counter here that sends the signal on the left, that gets propagated both to the door, which is opening, and towards something here. So let's have a look at what it is. So moving there, this is an AND operator. So this guy is going to send a signal over there when there is something coming through here or something coming through here. So what happens here is that AND. So you need to have a signal in both sides so that it actually sends something through the exit here. So what we have here, once the door is open, is that we have a signal coming from this direction, because there's this relay here that is propagating the signal that was also opening the door. So there's something on the first input. And if I go through the detector here, that is going to actually send, so let's open the door so we see it in action. So now we have a signal coming from the left here inside the first input of the AND operator. And if I happen to cross the detector, that will send a signal through the other input of the AND operator. And so we will have both of them activated. That will send a signal through the OR here, which is basically going to relay it back to the counter over there, who's going to flip. And if it flips, then the signal that was sent here and that was opening the door is not going to be working anymore. So that's going to close the door. And that's what happens as soon as I get inside the zone. But because you need the door to be open, so you need actually a signal here, you cannot just use the detection zone as a trigger that you could use to flip the door. You need the door to be already open so that this mechanism functions. So it's a bit complicated. But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. You just have to duplicate the cables at some places, have some memory to remember what was the state, and connects everything in a convenient way. And that's going to make your contraption work. So this is another example of a double lock where you need your friend to help you, and then you can help your friend. So the other side is pretty obvious. It's just a button connected directly to the door. Here, there's nothing complicated here. So you see the button is connected to the door. And that's another example of, well, not so simple, but interesting contraption you can do in a puzzle game. Okay, and now to conclude, I just want to show you a sort of a list of the elements that are in the game and that are relevant to build puzzle games. Some of them we've seen already in this very short demo. This is the pressure plate. These are two different types of buttons. This is like a switch. It keeps the state where it is when you press. And this is like a button. When you press it, just send an impulse. So these are the laser emitter and receptor that we have already used. I mentioned those two guys. They are actually the infrared emitter and receptor. So you see that the light is disappearing after a certain distance, so you can use that to make invisible traps. These are all the different sizes of force fields that you can use. Here I've demonstrated some extra small and small detection zone. There are some of them that are way bigger, so I've just displayed two of them here. So these are really the basics to actually detect things and activate things, and here are the more advanced elements that you can use to create, so as we have seen, AND operators, OR operators. This is a NOT operator. It just gets a signal in and the signal out is inverted. So if there's nothing, there's something, and if there's something, there's nothing. So this is a very fundamental basic building blocks that you use in electronics, by the way. So you could rebuild a whole computer with that. This is a delay line. It actually just delays the signal it gets in, so you get a 3 seconds delay. It could be useful in certain circumstances. And these are the 2x counter we have used in the example, but there's also a 3x counters that actually has 3 exits, 5, 7, and 10. So every time it gets a signal in, it will actually output one of its exits and roll through the different exits that it has. And finally, this is the relay that is taking one input and getting several outputs that are just going to mirror whatever input you send. So it's just like a way to split your connector into different directions. Okay, so this concludes this little introduction to the elements that are necessary if you want to build puzzle games in the game. We can't wait to see what you guys are going to build, in particular through the puzzle contest that is running currently. And so I hope you liked it, and see you soon in Dual Universe.